My conversation with AI. So, is there a theory of material space equivalent to general relativity that doesn't use the concept of curvature, but instead uses space motion in flat space?
Answer of AI. This particular approach, described by Andrew Hamilton and colleagues as the river model of black holes, is an alternative interpretation, not a completely different, independent theory of gravity. Here's a key distinction: mathematical equivalence. This model is mathematically equivalent to general relativity, GTR. This means that both approaches yield identical numerical predictions for all physical phenomena. Another physical interpretation: instead of describing gravity as the curvature of four-dimensional space-time, the river model visualizes it as the motion, flow, of three-dimensional material space, a sort of refreshed ether, through a flat, resting background. It is a more intuitive hydrodynamic analogy for Einstein's existing theory, using the language of matter flow. So yes, there is such a description, which could be called the material space theory, or ether, which is mathematically identical to general relativity.
And what does Sabine Hossenfelder have to say?
Perpendicular to it. The Michelson-Morley experiment famously proved this to be wrong. Light moves at the same speed in all directions. There is no ether that defines what it means to not move. Einstein was right. All motion is just motion relative to something else. Scientists resolved to accept that light is a wave, period. It travels in empty space and doesn't need a medium to travel it. In summary, yes, ether theories still exist, and yes, they're compatible with data, but it's not the same ether as the one that was ruled out a century ago. The new Einstein-compatible ether might be an alternative to dark energy and/or dark matter, but at the moment it doesn't have any distinct advantage.
She is repeating a falsehood. The Michelson-Morley experiment only ruled out a static ether. Furthermore, we only know the two-way speed of light because the one-way speed cannot be measured. She doesn't seem to understand that the deprivation of space of material property stems solely from Einstein's assumption that the one-way speed of light is the same in every direction in every inertial frame. This assumption would be absurd if space had material properties. You note that this assumption leads to another absurdity. You have to assume that light is some strange wave that doesn't require a material medium to travel. In the case of material space, this problem doesn't exist. Deriving the correct formulas for time slowing and length contraction requires the two-way speed of light, so despite his incorrect assumption, Einstein was able to derive the correct formulas. If proponents of Einstein's theory limited themselves solely to predicting measurement results, Einstein's theory could be considered a good fit to known experiments. The limitation of general and special relativity is that they only fit measurements. Therefore, it cannot explain the equality of gravitational and inertial mass. In this theory, it's merely an experimental fact. The material space theory conceptualizes the physical phenomena that cause these masses to be equal. The simplest explanation for the identical behavior of matter in an accelerating system and in a local gravitational field is to assume that we are dealing with an identical material phenomenon, i.e., accelerated movement relative to material space.
What can we find on the same topic on the PBS SpecTime channel?
But the death of the ether gave Einstein two things. It inspired the Lorentz transformation critical to both special relativity and then his general theory of relativity that ultimately overthrew Newton's theory of gravity. And, according to Einstein, it revealed the cracks in the foundations of physics that allowed his ideas to be accepted. It's commonly stated that the ether is disproved, but let's be clear, the ether as a classical medium for light is dead. However, the general concept of the ether sort of has an afterlife. Einstein talked about the new ether as the medium of the gravitational field, and which we now think of as the fabric of space.
Matt O'Dowd falsely claims that the ether, as a medium for light, is dead. He allows for the possibility of an ether related to gravity and suggests that it might be the fabric of space-time, because Einstein himself, after publishing his general theory of relativity, admitted such a possibility. Only on the Veritasium channel is the problem of the one-way speed of light presented relatively correctly, but unfortunately incompletely. Let's hear.
Is to say, we've all agreed, and this is based on something Einstein wrote in 1905, we've all agreed to just say, it's C in every direction. But the truth is, the physics works the same, whether it's C or the C over 2 and instantaneous, or anything in between. As long as the round trip works out to be C, none of physics breaks. And that's the crazy thing.
So if we can never measure the one-way speed of light, and if it makes no difference to any of the laws of physics, then what's the point in even talking about it? Well, that is certainly one valid perspective in a debate that has been ongoing since 1905. Some physicists appeal to Occam's razor. Isn't it just simpler if light travels at the same speed in all directions? Most working physicists just accept the convention and move on with their lives. But I think it's important to point out that it is just a convention, not an empirically verified fact.
The author seems to fail to understand that Einstein's arbitrary assumption of the constancy of the one-way speed of light in every direction in every inertial frame was the sole reason he denied material properties to space. This was no innocent convention, as Einstein's supporters claim. Pathological mechanisms at universities prevent the theory of material space from being taught, even though it is more general than general relativity. It explains the origin of the equivalence principle, which for Einstein was merely an experimental fact. In this theory, the slowing down of clocks in a gravitational field and caused by motion has an identical cause, the clock's motion relative to material space. Furthermore, in this theory, light behaves like all other waves, meaning it requires a material medium to travel, and the speed of light is constant relative to material space. How long is this pathology going to last?